An aide of the former Sokoto State Governor, Aminu Tambuwal, has been remanded in prison for sharing a media content considered offensive to the state governor, Ahmad Aliyu. Shaliu Umar was remanded in a correctional facility for allegedly insulting the governor, his wife, and his deputy on a Facebook post. Mr. Umar allegedly shared a video of the governor struggling to construct a sentence in English and also posted Mr. Aliu's senior secondary school leaving certificate online. A magistrate, Fatima Hassan, barred reporters from covering the court proceedings on Monday. Sir, an aide to the former governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, being that he might have been in the presence of the governor and seeing the governor struggling with his English language, and also went ahead, also not only just posting that video that he took of the governor struggling, and also went to search out for his school leaving certificate and also posted that online in a bid to maybe perhaps embarrass the governor. But the blowback was that the governor had been able to secure his imprisonment while still awaiting trial. What do you say about this? I want to know your point, your opinion on this.
I would rather say it's very unfortunate.
Okay.
It's very unfortunate with the way these young ones behave. You know, the Facebook or the social media, there are people that actually are intelligent. They use that same social media to market their product. And it is not something that you now go and begin to say things about people. Sometimes the orientations of these persons are not adequate. If one might ask, what do you stand to gain? If, I don't know, I'm not saying one of his teachers or his lecturers as the governor might be, or maybe somebody who could witness to his resolve. So whether he had an F in English or he doesn't have, you know, is inconsequential to me. The Nigeria Constitution has stated that if you have your O level, if you attempt it, you can be the president of this country. Does not really state that you will pass it. So if you now go and say that the person failed this one or passed this one, so it means that there are personal interests. But one is not even certain if he actually did such. Because if he did and posted it, the reason should be why. And within the laws and the Constitution, those acts are lawless. You know, you don't go to abuse people or maybe say some certain things about them without their consent. Maybe he's reacting that way. Sometimes things like this might occur if you're loyal to somebody and maybe the person is fighting with some other person. You believe that you want to prove loyalty by maybe castigating the next person. But sometimes in life, it's not always the case. It's not always the case. Because the aide to Tambuwal cannot be arrested like that and be put in prison because he posted, because he would not want to do some certain things because of his level of understanding. Now, if you're an aide to that person, your act should display the attitude or the conduct of that person. So what he's trying to do, you know, one cannot really understand the purpose. Of course, his legal team there was saying that he pleaded not guilty. So that means either he didn't do it or he did it. That will be left for the court to determine. A case in court is not what you discuss. You don't discuss it, the court will determine it. So one does not have to discuss that issue. But if he did such, he should know that that's not something to do.
But being that, yes, we know that English is not our mother tongue, but definitely we were colonized by the British, and it is expected that for a British colonized territory, we should have a command of English, even if it's at the most rudimentary level.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk about English as a spoken language, you talk about politics and politicians, and people growing from the cadres of politics getting to the point of a governor. Should an average governor in Nigeria have average command of English? Or he should, it's permitted for him to struggle through his English language and be a representative of a people, even at the state level?
Well, I want to say communicating in English language does not really prove competence or intelligence. We are Nigerians. In fact, if someone who is competent is, whether higher institution or whatever level of education, is capable of using the pidgin English to respond to those questions that is asked.
If he did that during campaign, and he used the English language to further his campaign, would he have gotten to the position he is in now?
No, that's what we're saying.
Okay.
Sometimes, things might occur. Sometimes there are so many things that happens within the media. Sometimes they can use the media to mess you up. They can use the media to also package you. So, but I'm just looking at it holistically. That even if, while trying to communicate, he was stammering, it's not an issue. If he is stammering with his own mother tongue, it would have been more understanding and interesting to a mind like me. That's why I'm driving to the point to say that no matter the level of education, whether it is in the tertiary institution or whether it's in primary or whatever level, if a question is asked and the person is able to communicate, as long as you're in Nigeria here and you could communicate with our pidgin English, nobody has the right to fail you. You can challenge it. Because our formal way, everyone has L1 and L2. Everyone in the world, the L1 is their mother language, while the L2 is like the, what would you call it? Like with us now is our broken English or pidgin English. While you see that we now that is communicating as the British men here, which ordinarily a lot of Nigerians might not really be understanding what we're saying. Now, we are now driving into either other person's L1 or L2. So the level of understanding of this individual trying to cajole or laugh or try to use it against that person, to me, is also irrelevant. Rather than using those kind of his stammering towards, let it be that it is his mother tongue, either the L1 or L2, that is creating those errors. We must promote this country. We must, as citizens of this country, we have to protect this country at every cost. We have to. So if we begin to look at one person, try to bring down the person for something that is, to me, is irrelevant. You that is even laughing at that person, to me, you're even worse than the situation. Because if somebody is stammering over something, if you think you're more intelligent, you would have gathered the person through to say, oh no, maybe that's how this thing is. So everyone feels comfortable. We must not be comfortable where the other person is strangulated, or maybe the person is frustrated, or the person is suffering. That's the kind of politics some persons wants to engage in.
But was it enough for the governor to move for his imprisonment?
No, if you know, it differs. Are we together?
Yeah. Because he didn't post a fake result of the governor.
No,
he posted a true certified copy.
That's
and
what
also the grammatical errors that were made were really made. So
no, that's what I would not say.
Yes.
I would not say that those results. I did not issue the results. I've not actually gone to check the authenticity of that result. I'm not privy to some kind of things before I could make some certain statements. But what I'm saying is that if the governor feels insulted, humiliated, it's his right. Because if you are with someone, maybe the person is walking and the person's leg, it is true that the person's leg, the person has missed his steps to fall. But it is not also in your position to laugh at that person or to make caricature of that person. We have to build our morals. We have to build our ethics. We have to understand that we must be our brother's keepers.
Even in politics?
Politics.
Nigerian politics has been characterized by a dog-eat-dog situation.
That's a bad one. It's a bad one. And those thinking towards that directive cannot help the country. If you must have a heart. There are times you struggle. When you struggle, it's like maybe you're looking for money. When you have the money, will you still be looking for money? You have to relax. Because there is time for everything. If the time you're arguing, you say, no, I will not support you. I will support this person. When that period has passed, all hands should be on deck to wait for the next time. So if you begin to now go and say, yes, even if the result is maybe it didn't pass, he's not the first person that failed. It's not. There are some persons, it is failure that motivates them to success. So even by his acts, it could also motivate the governor to also ensure that he goes to either put those records straight, because normally if people write those O levels, if they don't make it, they go to rewrite. So we should not, if he's feeling bad, rather than saying that no, he shouldn't feel bad. No, but rather is to pacify him, to take it a bit easy, and then warn the party who has done that not to do that.
Okay, sir. All right, let's look at this report coming from Independent National Electoral Commission. Independent National Electoral Commission, as they debunk a report making rounds that its officials were selling the permanent voter cards, the PVCs, ahead of the September 21st governorship election in Edo State. While describing the allegations as false, INEC challenged a civic group, Transparency for Electoral Systems Advocacy, TESA, to provide concrete evidence against electoral officers to back up its claim of PVC sales in Edo State. The Chief Press Secretary told the INEC chairman, Mr. Rotimi Oyekomi, made this statement in response to the allegations. And he said that the commission does not sell but issues PVCs free of charge to only registered voters. According to him, the allegation followed the pattern of similar narratives leveled against the commission by partisan groups whenever off-cycle governorship or major elections are about to be conducted. Just as they made mention of during off-cycle elections, when it's not a general election, when all the states or all the local governments, the whole country is not in election mode. There are some states that have their off-cycle seasons, and there have been allegations that during those off-cycle seasons there are imported PVCs that are used to boost up the numbers of political parties and ensure they are winning. Do you think that the allegation made by TESA on INEC concerning Edo State's off-cycle elections, do they have a pinch of salt in it, or what do you think?
I would not say they have any. If they have a pinch of salt in it, INEC has told them to provide evidence. Are we together?
Yeah.
If they are able to provide that evidence,
has anybody been able to provide evidence?
That's why we say there's a pinch of salt in it. Otherwise, sometimes you can accuse people for. Sometimes when I see some certain things and I hear some certain things, it makes me laugh because there are some practical experiences that I've gotten as an individual. when you stay, sometimes some persons, like what INEC was saying, I'm not standing a brief for INEC, but what INEC is saying here is that they are trying to, is now they want to disburse the PVCs. It is also possible that maybe they saw them as they are carrying
it, and they believe that they are selling it.
But
because they just started.
There have been times actually,
okay,
that
where they sell
we've seen, no, not sales actually,
okay,
but we've seen pictures,
where
we've seen videos of PVCs in the bush,
okay,
dumped in the bush.
Yeah.
We've seen PVC, we've seen people, I mean, apply for their PVCs, and when it gets to that time, they are not having it. And we've seen a lot of discrepancies concerning the PVCs.
Yes.
And there, I mean, in INEC offices, there are bundles of PVCs that are not shared out to the owners of these PVCs. And meanwhile, they are just being domiciled in those INEC offices. Why are those PVCs not getting to their owners? And there will not be any allegations accusing the INEC of using it for one politician or the other. So why should it be different with these allegations or these accusations concerning the Edo State coming elections, sir?
Normally, as a umpire, they would always be either accused or praised. Now, if one is saying that those PVCs should get to their owners, it's proper. Because if you take the responsibility of providing those things, you should also take the responsibility of ensuring that those persons have those PVC, even if it is at the comfort of their home. I believe that's the reason why they took those data and all of that. But before one even drives to that point, looking at if you are accusing them that they are selling those PVCs, are there records where those people who didn't receive their PVC, it has been shown that those persons have voted? Those are evidences. If I didn't vote, I have my PVC, and result is out, and they say this, you voted. That's why there are clamors that this should be done from their ward unit, so the people can actually follow up, talking at transparency. So if you don't know who is who, they know, the community know who is who. If you say this person voted, somebody might know that that person is not around, or the person is around. So if you bring results, they can actually query it. Now, to INEC not releasing those PVCs, people can claim that you're not releasing it for various reasons. But, in this country we have that is lawful, if you accuse, if you allege, you should prove. If you allege, you should prove. If you're suffering, say you're suffering. And so you could be able to testify to the extent by which you're suffering. But if you just say we are suffering, are you sure those people are suffering? Or those people are not instrumental to what is actually happening? So those accusations, now what it is interesting, because INEC has said produce evidence of that thing you have said. If you say you are an organization that is into transparency, and this is a test run. If you cannot provide it, it will also be on record with some persons that might not communicate with them, that forget those people, they will always say things that are not true. If one will say to INEC, they should employ technology. They should go digital. Digital in the sense that if you co-op this data, you now see that AYZ for a point you're doing this registration is at this end. People who are coming to do those registrations are from there. These days we have things where you can sit down here and place an order and dispatchers could come. They should engage the services of these persons, because if rather than saying they are selling it, of course indirectly it might still be the same thing. Indirectly it might be the same thing, because if you're holding it intentionally, there's a reason. Maybe because of what you're benefiting. Maybe that's what they might be saying. I'm not holding brief for any of them. But if you as INEC, you have said that you provide these PVCs, let the PVCs get to the people. Let it get to the people. And you, who is saying that they are selling the PVC, showcase the evidence, as they have also mentioned, so that you don't bring a discussion where we'll be quarreling, trying to come up with a fact, meanwhile you are gearing up one person who will be in office and also suffer Nigerians more, or continue to share with you from the back door. No, we don't want all those kind of things. We want transparency. Okay. So if things are obvious, it's obvious.
Oh, nice. Okay. If INEC is listening to us, our guests for today, the Secretary General of the University of Port Harcourt Alumni Association, River State Chapter, Dr. Amonia Ibeneye, has made his input concerning the distribution of the PVCs, and also given his 2 cents and opinions on other cases that we've discussed about. Inasmuch as we are enjoying ourselves here on ATN Politics, time is not on our side, and I want to take this opportunity to thank our guests, Doctor, for making it here. The All Progressive Congress in Zamfara State has exposed fertilizer scandal involving the state government, alleging that it purchased the commodity at an inflated price. According to a statement signed by Yusuf Idris Gusau, its publicity secretary, the government bought 75 trailer loads of fertilizer for 38.5 billion naira, translating to 855,000 naira per bag. The APC claimed that this is a clear case of contract inflation and that the supplying company, ZAM Agrochemicals, is owned by Governor Dauda Lawal. The party alleged that the company was awarded a similar contract in 2020 but failed to deliver the fertilizer after collecting the money. The APC also accused the government of giving conflicting figures regarding the number of trailers purchased, with the governor stating 135 trailers and the PDP claiming 145 trailers. The party demanded that the government provide accurate figures and explain the discrepancy. Yes, sir. We are seeing a case of the opposition APC in Zamfara State even working as not just as political checkmates, but also as financial regulators and doing partially the work of the EFCC. We have seen a case of alleged contract inflation in the purchase of fertilizers. And also, there are issues concerning the reports of the trailer loads that came. Some quoting 10 trailers below than what is expected, the PDP having one other statement and the governor having the other. And there's also the aspect to claim that the company supplying the fertilizers is owned by the governor himself, Dauda Lawal. Having a plethora of all these allegations, although we have not heard from the court of law, we've not heard from investigating institutions like the Nigerian police, what are the feelers you get from this report, sir?
Well, it's always a situation where the populates are interested in what is happening around them. You know, normally when there is oppositions, it's not actually, it's bad when it's a witch hunt. But if the situations are obvious and that things are not proper, I think it's a checkmate for one who is not doing well to actually function properly. So be that as it may, we could also say it that no matter who, somebody has to do it, a company has to do it. So if it is his personal company or not is not the issue. But I think where the issue lies, if actually there were inflations, if from discrepancies from figures is actually displaying that the figures are not accurate. If what the APC is saying, calling that the figures a statement be made to regularize it and then to ensure that if corporate, because I think they were also calling on investigative bodies to see what the disparities are. They've not spoken out of line. I think it's also part of it. And again, looking at the crunchy period now in the country, if those fertilizers are utilized, it is actually something that will benefit majority of Nigerians. Because the agricultural sector is vital. Apart from engaging in import and export, it will also help the economy. So I think the governor would have, if actually what they are pointing out, the facts are there, I think it is a time to look around, consider the country, consider the state that is being governed, and then consider even investors. And so those are factors that should be considered, and understand that at this point in time in this country, it's not the time to be fraudulent. You know, I would also say that there are a lot of laws, laid down regulations, enough to ensure that there is transparency in the system. But the individual in the office, you know, the onus lies on the person to act upon that, either to try to maneuver them, sway them, or something else. But I think it's an appeal to arts that this period in the life of Nigerians is burning. And, you know, rather thoughts of how to make things much easier and comfortable or more accessible for the people will be better off. Because if those plans are there, if for any reason, I don't want to state categorically, because like you said, courts you've not had determination to those, these are speculations or maybe accusation, counter accusations and all of that. So it's not something to just say the company was not, is fraudulent for have engaged in inflation and all that. No, one would not say that, because except categorically there are facts to that. But one is appealing that since things like that there is also a wake-up call to the security agents, those persons that are party to activities of such, to queue into it and then try to visualize it and then try to build the confidence of Nigerians. Because Nigerians, some of them will believe that, oh no, even if such vital information is given, nothing will come out of it. So I think that they should look and then try to be transparent and then make their findings public. And I believe that parties will be satisfied, both those accusing and those defending. And I think that will help the system.
Okay, but in a case where this is a contract running into billions of naira, and it is supposed to pass through the instrumentality of the procedure,
biddings, yes.
Yeah, of biddings,
yes,
in the open.
Yeah, and if they've won, then it is allocated to them. Those are also things that should be looked at. If actually before the contract was given, it actually passed through the right processes. If it does, then the idea of is his company would not come in. But if it doesn't pass through, then the idea of him just pushing it to the company will come in. again, it is not just because it's his company or not his company as accusations might be, but it should be something that if they are handling it, there should be competence. Nigerians now are crying. They are dying mercilessly, I must confess to you. And so this is not the time. If there are funds to cushion effects, you know, I think it should be utilized. Should be utilized. It's just that I don't really believe in pointing at issues, but I believe in focusing on solutions, resolving those issues that are there, because that is what Nigeria wants. They don't want discussing. There's nothing you're saying that they've not heard before, but something that will help the situation. That's why they can easily blackmail people, and it flies. They can easily fly, you know, do unnecessary things, and it works. It's because Nigerians are stuck to the corner. So I think that they should avoid such, and then try to ensure that the laws are followed adequately. If it's done, I don't think the Nigerian system is built in a manner where it is just to destroy Nigerians. No. If we have the House of Reps, the Senate, they are there, things that are affecting the masses, they should quickly sway into it. And so that is the relief Nigerians are looking for now. Not this, how can something that is amounting to billions, it is when the execution is done and then maybe there are shortfalls that you're coming to mention it. There should be processes, because these are taxpayers' money. These are hard-earned money. People are dying, even of hunger. So it's not something that you now come and say, transportation is making some persons, they collapse on the road, they can't trek enough. Sometimes they walk a little, they sit down. You know, so it is something that I think it is not funny. It's not funny if those things are true. They are not funny things. And I think the security agencies, like as suggested by the APC, that they should try to see that they regularize the figures, and then if there are culprits, they should be brought to book.
Okay, sir. In the case where we are in the throes, we are in the middle of the throes of food inflation, food price inflation, food scarcity, and there is a case of fertilizers that is supposed to generate food crops in quantum in order to ease the burden on the market prices of food crops. And as at this point, there are already allegations and the fertilizers have not been shared yet. Are we going to see the end? Those fertilizers, are they going to reach the real farmers that ought to have access to this, being that their funds, the state funds, have been used to acquire these fertilizers, and by now it has not even gotten to the end user, and there are already allegations of impropriety, of abuse, of financial discrepancies. Do we have any hope that in Zamfara State that these fertilizers will get to the end users, or it is still business as usual? And as far as corruption has, as far as corruption is concerned, sir?
Like I said, it boils down to the individual occupying the office. You know, in management, they say they don't respect the individual, they respect the office. And so that office is occupying has the capacity to ensure that it gets to the end user. Now, if that is not done with the kind of influence around the office of the governor, which is not geared towards misbehaving, but geared towards enhancing the governor to perform effectively. Now, if it is not being done, you have to discuss this with him when he's out of office. You can go to the complaint office, the bureau, to begin to point out that there were irregularities when he was in office. But until that time comes, the situation will be what it is. So what the cry should be on the conscience of these persons consistently, that if they are not willing, capable of assisting the people get out of these bitter pills, they should bow out for someone else to do the job. It is not like, oh, it's a fight. No, it's an appeal. And if you're willing to do it, all hands will be on deck to ensure that you carry out those beautiful exercises, because they are beautiful, because it is something that will touch the lives of many. Now, if the fertilizer, those products, I believe it is not geared towards feeding all Nigerians. It is for that state. And so that is something that would have boosted the economy of that state. Because if you look at the country, most of their focus is on the oil and gas. And this is something that is making anybody deal with Nigerians at will. At will. They could wake up and do something in the oil and gas, and Nigerians will continue to cry. Now, even if you want, everybody in that state might not want to go into farming. So diversifying the economy, that's just a sector. And that's why we're looking at it as a sector. If that is looked at, it will enhance the system. Now, some of those persons that are feeling bad about the cost of living, at least they will have hope when they see their crops growing. So I believe that it is like a chain group of people. As they eat, everybody eating wants the rest people to die. But it shouldn't be like that. It should be a system, and it's not because it's APC talking, or because it's PDP talking.
The PDP,
but it's Nigerian.
I mean, in this case, we were expecting that concerning fertilizer,
yes,
the names that were supposed to be well featured is the Commissioner for Agriculture,
yes,
the Ministry of Agriculture,
okay,
the cooperative societies of farmers.
Yes.
But we are seeing APC, PDP, governor's company.
That's the names you're hearing.
Are these indices to show that this fertilizer was actually for agricultural purposes, or was it for cronies?
Yeah.
That at the end of the day, maybe the secret was leaked out of the bag and is being exposed. Because if it ought to be for the people, some agencies which are keyed towards agri sector would have been the spearheaders of this. But from the way we are saying it, it's political parties that are spearheading this. What does that prove to us to show that this is not just one of those cases of corruption, sir?
Like I will keep saying, it has to do with the individual. And when positions are made open, the parties that are getting into that office is key. If, for instance, you're putting the wrong peg in the right hole or the right peg in the wrong hole, you always get feedbacks of such. Now, what we're looking at here is the mindset of the individual. If the mindset of the individual is geared towards achieving professionality, you find out that these parties mentioned within the agricultural sector, in fact, that's the booming side, and everybody will be moving towards it. But if you find parties, key players that is from political parties, and you're not hearing, maybe if he has a commissioner of agriculture, that's another thing. If there's a commissioner for agriculture, if the commissioner is there, why is it that he has not said anything as a commissioner to say that these facts are not obvious, or these are the true pictures? Why is it that there are no agricultural groups or associations, or there are no persons interested within the agricultural sector? So these persons in questions might be the interest parties. either for or against. So when activities, that's why the processes should be transparent. So interest parties, that's the bidding process. If it has been followed, you find out that people who bid for the job will come from all sectors. One would not say that they didn't bid or they did, because these facts are not before us. But what is there is that in as much as the situation is what it is, parties should, even if you're in position today, know that you're in position because of the people that are not in that position.
Okay. All right. With that said, well said. But let's move on to Sokoto State.
Former Nigeria's Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, alongside other prominent Nigerian political figures, are currently making waves at the 2024 Democratic National Convention in the heart of Chicago, United States, as a distinguished guest of the National Democratic Institute, NDI, a prestigious organization fiercely devoted to championing democratic values across the globe. Among the notable attendees is the resolute Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate, Peter Obi, and the influential former Senate President, Ken-Mbata. While the NDI has confirmed an invitation extended to Tajuddin Abbas, the Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, speculations surround whether he will join his assembly of political heavyweights. We have seen a situation that it's very easy for our politicians to go sample what is happening elsewhere and see and enjoy part of it. But it's been very hard to replicate it in Nigeria. Are the Nigerians the problem, or are the politicians the problem? Why are we not able to replicate what we learn from others right here in our country?
I think it's as a result of a systemic failure. And once the system is bad, it takes a complete overhaul for that system to come alive. You know, in every system there are subsystems, but this one now, the complete system itself is gone bad, especially our democratic system. First, we've never had a transparent form of electing people. So once we have that transparent form of election where the best emerge and not a situation where mediocres emerge at the expense of the best, we'll keep going through this experience. First, like I said here earlier, for this whole thing to work, our electoral system needs to be reformed, so that way, if you go outside, you attend some of these conferences, you might bring it to bear here. It's quite unfortunate that the system has always worked against those who they think can do very well. They've always worked the system, the cabal, they are afraid of those people.
Okay, because the convention that they went for right now is a convention that has two distinct changes and propositions that were made by the Democratic Party. First of all, there was the example that Joe Biden could really step down from advice from his party faithful and stakeholders. You should step down. You're getting old.
Apart from the fact that he's getting old, I think his health is also failing.
Exactly.
So if his health is failing, the best thing to do is they better sacrifice Joe Biden and win the election than for them, because they want to please Joe Biden, and fail the election. So that's why I say it takes that will, strong will, for people to come out open and say, hey, you can't be part of this election. If you're part of it, we're definitely going to lose. Unlike some parts of Africa where you see some persons that are bedridden, some are practically being pushed, and they are winning election for the 5th and 6th time. But now America, they know very well that if they allow Joe Biden become part of that election, they have already lost the election.
Will we be able to learn from that example?
I pray we do so.
And there is another example, being that the vice president, first of all, was selected initially. A woman was able to get to the point of being a vice president. And now she has been thrown up for the top one position of the president. Would Peter Obi, would Ken-Mbata, would Osibanjo, when they come back here, would they be able to influence their parties to be able to adopt those kind of measures that they learned from the Democratic National Convention to bear on Nigeria, that we should allow for the women to also rise even up to the vice presidency? We should also see that those that are very ill and may not be able to continue maintaining political offices be able to step down like Joe Biden. Do they look like the personalities that will bring that to bear in our political terrain?
Well, time will tell. But for the likes of Obi, Osibanjo, Ken-Mbata to be part of that Democratic Congress, I believe they must have learned a couple of things. For a woman to become the vice president or hold high political office in this country, it's a good thing. Women, they've risen to deputy governors, they've been in the Senate. At some point, we had Etiaba, Dame Etiaba, as a stopgap governor in Anambra State before Obi came back and reclaimed his mandate. I would want a situation where women will aspire to the top offices. And today, too, the incoming Chief Justice of the nation is a lady. And I also want to be part of history where a lady will be the president of Nigeria, and also in my lifetime see a woman become the president of America. But once they are well equipped, nothing stops them from aspiring for high offices all over the world.
Okay. Do you see women being able to do that? I mean, not just we being able to empower them, but are Nigerian women capable of taking the bull by the horn?
Of course, they can. Thank God, our former president, who says his wife belongs to the other room, that belongs to the other room and not the political front.
Exactly.
That's his own mentality.
Exactly.
But as a man, if you have an understanding with your spouse, and she assures you, there's no level you cannot push your spouse to. Because they say behind every successful man, there's a woman. I also want a situation where they say behind every successful woman, there's a man also pushing him. Not just a man, the support of her spouse to push her to greater heights.
Okay. I want to say that in as much as we have been able to see, despite selling its downstream operations as far back as 2015, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar yesterday accused President Bola Tinubu of mortgaging the oil industry to his family and associates, citing the alleged control of OVH, an oil industry operator by Oando PLC, owned by Wale Tinubu. Atiku said he believed that even after Tinubu leaves office, it would be nearly impossible to break the shackles, comparing Tinubu's alleged integration of his business interests into Lagos public enterprises to his current attempts at the federal level. In a statement by his media aide, Paul Ibe, Atiku argued that just as Alpha Beta, Primero, and others act as Tinubu's proxies in Lagos, managing critical sectors and generating revenue for him and his family, he has begun to replicate this at the federal level. He expressed astonishment at the operations of the NNPC and wondered how the government-owned oil company has allegedly put its retail arm under the control of OVH, a company in which he said Oando, led by Wale Tinubu, owns 49%. Atiku regretted that his intention to privatize the NNPCL and increase its transparency has been overshadowed by what he described as the criminal hijack of the NNPC by corporate cabals around the current president. You have a first salvo before I ask any questions?
Well, it takes a thief to catch a thief.
Oh, he stole that from me. Now, there was also an interview with Wale Tinubu, and Wale Tinubu said outrightly that OVH was bought when, as at 2001, 2003, when the vice president then, which is Atiku Abubakar, was in charge of privatization. So he sold the company to the Tinubus during his term, the first term as the vice president of Nigeria. Now, he is crying foul. And Wale Tinubu said that the company had been sold since 2015. So, how is Atiku's claim that Tinubu is hijacking the oil industry using OVH and NNPC when OVH has been sold since 2015? Is he trying to cry wolf? Is he trying to say something other than what we are hearing?
This oil matter in Nigeria is something that we start discussing. It's a discourse for one full day. What is a discourse for the rot that is going on in the oil industry? It's only God that will deliver Nigeria from that rot. It has been highly criminalized. It has been bastardized to an extent that it has become pitiable, laughable, and despicable. What Atiku is saying is not far from the truth, even if he's saying it from the biased point of view. But truth be told, no matter where it's coming from, what is happening in the oil industry or in the oil and gas sector is something that if we're not careful, in the next 16 years, we won't recover from it. You can't mortgage the corporate future of an entire nation into a microscopic view. And it's not the idea, it's not the dream of the founding father of Nigeria or the modern day Nigeria. They wanted a free and egalitarian society where things will go on the way they are planned, where the son of a nobody will become somebody without knowing anybody. But today, the reverse is the case. So much rot going on in the oil sector. And it's pitiable, it's laughable, and it's something that calls for urgent actions to be taken.
Like what kind of actions can you suggest?
At this point, I think it needs a complete overhauling and rejigging, because so many things have gone wrong. So many things. And they say when the foundation is faulty, there's nothing the righteous can do. So they already laid a very wrong foundation, and the result now is becoming very devastating. And look at a situation in this country. We have 4 refineries, major refineries. None of them has been able to produce up to maximum capacity. Yet, we import fuel, we import natural gas every day.
Do you think that is where the problem is? The importers of petrol might not want the refineries to work, might not want crude to be sold to Dangote refineries and other artisanal refineries and other refiners of oil in Nigeria in order to make sure that they can always import. Do you think that the cabal that are in charge of importing petrol would not want us to be able to refine petrol here?
Okay, can I crave your indulgence for one thing? Would you be kind enough to allow me respond to your question by asking you a question?
Okay, but I do ask the questions here.
But let me bridge the protocol.
Okay, but it should be a rhetorical question.
Yes.
Okay.
If you are an importer of generator in this country, would you allow power supply, electricity to be constant? You would not. So it takes someone who has the political will to muzzle you as an importer to soft pedal so that the power sector can work very well. So all we need is a government that has the political will to offend people, take critical decisions that will be in the overall interest of the federation. That way we can move forward. If not, we'll still be groping in darkness.
That kind of personality, should he have an experience in the oil industry, or he should be a neophyte coming from the non-extractive industry to be able to stamp his feet down, or he should be a professional in that circle to be able to effect that kind of change that we need there?
In life, nobody knows it all. All we just need is someone who has the political will, who has the heart to take very critical decisions. If you have professionals working with you, you have technocrats working with you, and they come up with ideas, and you look at it on paper that this is good, then you take the decision, take that bold step, no matter who is offended, no matter whose ox is God, so long as Nigerians are happy, you're good to go. So the most important thing is someone with the political will.
Okay. We recently heard that there are different names that they called it, but the NNPC is going back to subsidy, giving orders by the presidency that they should, although there are other names that they called it, I don't want to delve into all that, but subsidy is finding its way back. What do you pretend that might be? What will be the effect? Is it going to bring down, is the price of petrol going to fall, or is it going to be business as usual? We'll be paying subsidy and still take petrol even at almost 1,000 naira per litre.
Ken,
yes, sir.
To be fair to you, in all honesty, I think what they're just doing is going around in circle. Not until our refineries begin to work at optimum capacity, we would continue to go through this harrowing experience. Why? Our economy is import driven, and it's putting pressure on the naira because of the huge demand for dollar to satisfy that foreign import. The only way is for our refineries to start producing at optimum capacity. The price will drop on its own, because whether I like it or not, the market forces of demand and supply will definitely crash the price, and not even government policies. The only policy is that let these refineries begin to work. One, let us also allow people to establish modular refineries. Let's also encourage businessmen who has all it takes to go into refinery. Then lastly, if the NNPC cannot manage the refineries, it has been proven all over the world that government cannot run businesses like this. Sell it at zero kobo to willing investors. Let them come in, look at it. A whole lot of work is going on in the NNPC, where people are collecting salary and doing nothing. So they do a personnel audit, cut down the wage, then look at how the refineries will work. If the equipments are obsolete, since as a young boy in my early days in the university, I've been hearing of turnaround maintenance till today. They have been maintaining. Nothing has been able to come out of, or nothing productive has come out of all the maintenances. So I pray this should be the last one, so that we'll start producing. Look at the refinery in Kaduna, it's a rot. Exactly. Look at the one in Warri. Look in Port Harcourt. Don't also remember, we have 2 refineries in Port Harcourt, making it 4. But the truth is that they must allow people to establish refineries. Let's have a level playing field. See what happened in the communication industry. In the late 90s, it was exclusively reserved for the rich. But today, so many players have come into the communication, and if you want to have up to 8 lines, you can have it at reduced price. Call rates reduced, SMS rates reduced, even the internet fast, it's also gone down. See so many people now using and having access to the internet because the price has gone down. So if they allow major players with the right business mentality come into the oil and gas industry, have set up refineries and all that, the prices will definitely drop on its own, and not everyday subsidy. They still want to, so that this whole rot scam going on. Like I said before, subsidy has always been a scam in this country, where they use to rip us up of our commonwealth and our collective patrimony.
Very true. Very true. Now, the last protest that took place, everything that everybody was going for and asking for was the return of subsidy. Return of subsidy. And now there's a return of subsidy. Do you think that it should continue? How long should the subsidy continue?
Subsidy, for me, it's a necessary evil. Why I say it's a necessary evil is that, one, is something that you can avoid. And the only way to avoid it is a hard way. let our refineries work, produce up to optimum capacity, the prices will drop instead of funding imports at an exorbitant rate, still to satisfy those same cabal that has monopolized the oil and gas, or especially the petroleum aspect of this country. So for me, Albert Einstein says madness is doing the same thing the same way and expecting a different result.
Okay. We'll let that sleeping dog also lie until the future proves us wrong. Then we will still sit here to discuss about other options on how to liberate ourselves from the oil glut that we found ourselves in. All right, hundreds of members of the People's Democratic Party, that's the PDP, and the Labour Party, LP, and the African Democratic Congress yesterday dumped their parties and defected to the All Progressive Congress, the APC, during the ongoing word-to-word campaign of the party at the Igweben headquarters at Igweben local government area of Edo State. Director General of All Progressive Congress Campaign Council, Matthew Uhoride, while receiving the defectors, assured them of fair treatment, saying all members are equal in the APC. He told the crowd of party members and supporters that he believes in Monday Okpebolo as a good candidate that will listen to the yearnings of the people. Also speaking, the coordinator of APC Campaign Council in Edo State Senatorial District Central, Ediano Sen Okoje, appealed to the defectors to come out en masse on September the 21st to cast their votes for the party. Yes, sir. The ground is already watered. What is left is for the seeds to be planted and germination to occur, which in other terms means the field is prepared for the politicians to do what they do best. And then the polls on September the 21st is going to reveal the results if the seeds germinated or not. They are currently in Edo Central, which is the home front of the APC, and hundreds have left their other parties in hundreds and moved over to the PDP. Do you see that as a good sign for the APC, or it's just gimmicks as usual?
Well, for me, every election season could be likened to the transfer season of every football league.
Okay.
It's a period where people move en masse or in drove from party A to party B, especially those who are aggrieved in party A, and B could move to party C. Or there's this crisscrossing of dissatisfied, affected, or disgruntled members moving. Moving at this point, few days to an election, what is your aim? Another question, who are the people? Do they have electoral value? Do they have what it takes to mobilize at the grassroots properly? I pray it doesn't be one of those gimmicks of those stuck in trade, or who's stuck in trade is pure politics to see how they can cash out from the candidate and from the party with some frivolous and ambiguous promises. The only thing, it will be translated into votes proper. Then at the end of the day, let's see how their support will deliver the candidate. Otherwise, at this point, I don't take such movements very serious. That's my take on humble submission.
Okay, because even Monday Okpebolo made a comment when he was making his own speech that he is in his home front. He doesn't have so much urge to campaign there because his people say that they are going to give him block votes. But in as much as we know that in every corner of Nigeria there are other party members, there are other party executives, and there are other party intentions in those places. Even in Ishan, which is his home front, the APC has competition there. Is it that it's just a carry-go situation for the senatorial district, on the central senatorial district, which he represents per se? Or is there going to be an opposition coming from Godwin Obaseki's PDP, presenting Asue Godalo to win the block votes from the central, which might be their birthright as at now, because they have not gone for governorship before. But definitely the PDP, the LP, and other parties are looking to capitalize
If you look at the antecedent of Edo politics, right from 1999 to date, Ishan has always been the home front, the stronghold of the PDP. Right from the days of Attorney Anene and the rest of them, they were able to galvanize and mobilize support for PDP in Edo State from that Ishan and the Fuga area. I mean, their Sako.
Yeah.
You know, Edo, they have the Oredo, they have the Ishan, they have their Sako, then they have the Edo North, which is the Auchi people.
Auchi.
So,
Afemai.
So if you look at it technically, the Ishan is the stronghold of the PDP. So if some members of the party are moving from PDP to APC, for me, it's also a good sign for APC that the party is gradually gaining acceptance into the Ishan area. But the good thing is that the result of the election will speak. That's why in the game of football, they will tell you after 90 minutes or worst case scenario, 120 minutes or a penalty shootout. So let everybody stay action, go to the field, do your proper campaigns and mobilization. Let everything, all these promises translate into votes proper and result will speak for itself.
Okay, concerning, we know that Edo State is a very, very special and peculiar place when it comes to politicizing. Almost everybody in Edo State is a political animal. They want to participate actively. I mean, even those that you think that are not politicians are well aware of the political gimmicks that are at play. Not even to talk about non-state actors. I mean, you're talking of National Union of Road Transport Workers, you're talking of Market Women Association, you're talking of various non-state, non-executive actors in the sphere. Are they going to be able to work according to INEC guidelines in order to forestall any case of electoral violence and maybe even the cases of vote buying and such other anomalies that happen during elections, sir?
You know, I've said it over and over that politics itself is a business of all common. It's not like a trade union. It's not like a professional body where it's exclusively reserved for either members of the association or people who are in that trade. Politics encompasses everybody. So you must be able to carry all shades of interest along. Then the only thing is for the party to properly educate them, sensitize and mobilize them, let them know the do's and don'ts, which I believe all the parties are doing, because politics has come to stay in Nigeria. We've had it, and we've never had it this good before, where we've had 25 years of uninterrupted democratic activities. So if you look at it, I believe now that the people are becoming more mature. But the only thing which I find quite disturbing is vote buying. And when people sell their votes, they are selling their futures collectively. And for me, I've always said it that the best bet is for us to have some form of electoral reforms. And once there are electoral reforms, most of these things will be nipped in the bud, even without the party sensitizing their members.
Okay.